It's only a matter of time now. The ability of the elites to keep things hidden down in Antarctica is slipping through their fingers. More and more people are visiting the continent. The melt is accelerating. They can't hide it for very much longer. Somebody's going to see something. Somebody's going to take a picture. And they're going to look at it twice, and then 3 times, and then share it. And then others are going to start to ask questions, and then they're going to go visit. And eventually it's going to cascade out of control, and they're going to have to admit they've been lying to us for a very long time. Now, many years ago, I was using Google Earth Pro and stumbled on some things myself I couldn't explain. And I decided to share it here at the YouTube channel, and a very large group of people with a political agenda took a look at my channel logo and read into it something that wasn't there, and they decided that I was part of their movement, and so they decided to promote my channel, and that's why it grew so fast, so strangely back in 2018 and 2019. When it became clear that I wasn't part of their movement, they then decided, well, we're just going to let this go because he's not a team player. So that's why the channel stopped growing. But the idea of what's happening in Antarctica, that's not changed. Ancient DNA from 1 million years ago discovered in Antarctica, 10 October 2022. Now some might say, Florida Maquis, don't get all excited, it's just microbes. Nothing exists in a vacuum. What were the microbes eating, and what was eating the microbes to control their population? And then that thing that was eating the microbes, what was eating them? See, everything exists as part of a food chain. And if a food chain is flourishing, that means there's very good evidence of intelligent life, which they have denied categorically ever existed in Antarctica. It can't possibly be a continent larger than the entirety of Europe having no intelligent or advanced life other than penguins. Now, earlier today, we dropped a video over at the Florida Maquis Alpha site. That's the backup channel for this channel. It only has 3,200 subscribers over there, but recently it's been growing. We put up a video of a very strange image that was captured by Jennifer LaFontaine, Jennifer Veterans for Truth, over Florida. And then we also put up a song last night. And then today we dropped a video that shows basically a sphinx in Antarctica. Now we go through the entire rigmarole of putting up Google Earth Pro and Google Earth, the web-based version, side by side. We measure right on the same screen both sphinxes, and they're virtually identical. One faces directly east, and the one in Antarctica, the Egypt one, faces directly east, pardon me. The one in Antarctica faces directly south. It literally points right at the South Pole. There's also, as we know, a cavern underneath the one in Egypt, just like there's one in Antarctica. And this is the video. Antarctica alert, fully intact frozen Egyptian Sphinx, now discovered on Google Earth in Antarctica. And there's a trail, a path that has been cut to it that leads to what looks like some type of a base camp as well. It's unmistakable. So if you'd like to watch that video, take a quick hop over to the Florida Maquis Alpha site. It's just like it sounds. This channel, Florida Maquis, M-A-Q-U-I-S, Alpha, A-L-P-H-A, and then S-I-T-E, Alpha site, as in work site. This is our main channel here, and if you would like a quick link to it, just go to the Florida Maquis main page, click over to Community, and the very first post you'll see will have a picture of that, and there'll be a link directly to it. That's another easy way to do it. So, however, some of you might remember, and this is tangentially tied to the idea of what's going on in Antarctica, there was a map that was created for the allegedly fictional series Game of Thrones. Well, Game of Thrones ended a long time ago, but recently they have run out a new spin-off called House of the Dragon. And more of what's covered here, it's basically a prequel of things that happened thousands of years before the original series, confirms a lot of things. This is their allegedly fictional map of what this area that covers the story is about, for lack of a better way to describe this. They had to create, there were so many moving parts to the series Game of Thrones, they literally had to create a real map to show people, here's where this is happening, here's where this other thing is happening, all this other stuff. Well, when you look at this allegedly fictional map, it looks exactly like some place that exists in the real world. And my allegation is that the reason the original series ended the way it did so badly and so immediately, without any real closure for any of the characters, is my belief is that they were writing it, George R.R. Martin was lifting it from a historical account that we don't know about. Now, this is another map of that region. There have been entire videos made about this map. But I want you to look at these two images very closely. On the left is the tip of Argentina, where it meets the peninsula of Antarctica. And there's this giant piece of land that has been washed away. One of the things that is largely misunderstood about Antarctica is that Antarctica is not frozen and cold because it's at the South Pole. The reason Antarctica is frozen and cold is because it is isolated at the South Pole, and even science and biology and different scientific elements have confirmed that at one time Antarctica was a lush rainforest. What do I mean by isolated? Well, if there were a land bridge here at one time between the peninsula of Antarctica and Argentina, the winds and the weather and the currents would not be able to swirl around Antarctica like they do. They do that now, and it keeps any warm air from the more tropical regions of the planet from reaching Antarctica. That's what keeps it frozen, not its location. If you were to create some type of an artificial barrier here, the currents couldn't swirl, and those storms wouldn't occur, and it would warm quickly. Now, on the right is that particular map that they said was fictional from the story Game of Thrones. It shows what looks like the Antarctic Peninsula. It also shows what looks like the tip of South America, but there's a giant piece of land here that's missing. Here's a better way with more descriptive arrows. As you can see, what they call the north up here would be for us the south, all frozen. And then this area with what they call the narrow sea, and this would be the passage that used to, there might have been a very narrow passage that you could go through. They have what they call the Argentine Sea down here. They call this the Summer Sea. With all this having been destroyed through some cataclysmic event, this makes perfect sense. And here's a much bigger map of that. This looks exactly like, and when there's a group called the Dothraki, the actor Jason Momoa was a Dothraki. And when you look at, and he was a very, very big character, there's a thing called polar gigantism, and you can look that up. There are creatures down in Antarctica under the ice that are just enormous, and their counterparts in other parts of the world are normal sized. It's something called polar gigantism. And we've shown all sorts of other evidence on maps of giants down here as well. So this is my tie-in. This is the connection. I truly, honestly believe there was a civilization in Antarctica, now hidden by miles of ice, that influenced every other civilization as we know it on the planet. Please go check out the Florida Maquis Alpha site and this video that shows both of these sphinxes. They are in measurement virtually identical, with so many different things that could not possibly be just a coincidence. They can't keep this hidden for very, very much longer. once people get done being distracted with the nonsense of the world and the politics and everything else, people are going to start to ask sane, intelligent questions about the real world. Why is there an entire huge continent on our own planet that we haven't explored, we haven't discovered everything about, and we're sending robots to Mars? How about we figure out what's under the ice in Antarctica first, as it continues to melt, since that's clearly not going to stop anytime soon? Why don't we understand our own deep oceans and this first before we go out deciding what's on the other side of the moon or the other side of the sun or Venus or Mars or anything else like that? We don't even understand this planet or our own history. And to me, that would seem like it would change everything. 150, 200 years from now, we might not even recognize society if we would do something like this. So I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.